How can you not be ready for BYU Utah week? Now in a power conference, Power 4, Big 12 football, BYU and the Utes. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you. Every Monday night, we're holding it down here on Cougar Nation, 6 to 7, taking your phone calls, answering your text in the world of BYU football. Matt, it's been a great show thus far. Let's get back out to the phone line and welcome in Austin from South Jordan. Austin, appreciate your patience here. How confident are you that BYU is going to take care of business and beat Utah on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm mostly confident. I'm not going to say I'm fully confident for two reasons. The first, kind of a counterpoint to what the guy from Nevada just said, that he said that both teams will show up. From my experience, it seems like at least one team either plays significantly better or significantly worse than normal in a rivalry game. And the second point is kind of a counterpoint to the NIL. Maybe because of NIL and transfer portal, instead of the team members getting in their heads and either performing way better or way worse because of the hype up, they're just going to play normal. And in that case, BYU will probably win.
Interesting stuff. I just don't buy it, Mitch. I could very well be proven wrong, but I just don't know in today's day and age if the rivalry game, if the rah-rah for the Gipper, for the name on the front of the jersey, if that's going to overcome that. We'll see on Saturday. That's to quote Chris Berman, one of my favorite broadcasters growing up, that's why they play the game. But I'm not convinced that because of the rivalry game, Utah's going to get up for it just because, that's what they do.
BYU and Utah's had some amazing moments in this rivalry. I mean, you just think back, the last meeting, 2021, that was a huge breakthrough for BYU, winning that game 26-17. That was Kalani's first victory over Utah. And honestly, that was a game that felt a little bit bigger of a margin than the final score would indicate. BYU was comfortably in front in that game, and that was just an amazing weekend for Cougar Nation. You get the Big 12 invite, and then you take down Utah. That was a special one. I know Cougar fans love that 2006 game, Beck to Harleen, and how could you not? I mean, that was the stuff of legends. The final play of the game, and then you had 4th and 18. And there's been so many moments, even in the 80s when Mark Wilson gets, or late 70s when he gets the NCAA record, and the back and forth between these fan bases, these programs. It's special stuff, and I hope that it continues to grow in the Big 12 era because, I knew that BYU, Tom Holmoe and his regime always wanted to keep this game on the schedule, so I was kind of opposed to it when it was independent BYU because I wanted novelty on the schedule in that first month of the season. But now that they're in conference, if you're going to play this game, better that it's in a conference because now it actually has some real meaning in the standings. Because 3 years ago, BYU wins the game, and then Utah goes to the Rose Bowl. And it was like, well, you might have beat us, but we went to the Rose Bowl. You went to Shreveport. And I like that can't be used now in this one. It matters a ton, and they're in the same league. And, look, Utah can play spoiler, but BYU can really send Utah season spiraling to the point where Utah might not go to a bowl game. And I think that's kind of motivation for BYU to really send that thing sinking down further for the Utes who go into the game on a 4-game losing streak. Back to the phone line. Steve from Kaysville. How confident are
you? I'm confident. I agree with you that being a member of the conference is huge. Makes a big difference. But Utah always seems to get up for this game, and BYU kind of patsies it. So I think it's going to be a close game, but I think BYU will win.
That's all that matters, Mitch. We saw in the Big 12 this week just the chaos that is unfolding in this conference. Iowa State losing on a game-winning drive by Texas Tech. Kansas State can't mount a comeback in the fourth quarter, losing to Houston, and that game's getting a little more interesting at the end of the year for BYU with Houston perhaps turning a corner, but you just got to win. Let me throw this your way, Mitch. On Instagram, and hey, we do have an Instagram, KSL BYU. We got a lot of extra content there on Instagram for you fans that have an Instagram account. We threw out there the question of the day on the gram. Former Coug herself, Mitch, Jess Chapman, said she only has a 5% belief that BYU will win this game. So I guess my question for you, she goes on to say, I'm scared for the Cougs. What scares you in this rivalry game, Mitch?
Because Utah's a really good defense, and BYU's offense could be shut down by Utah's offense or defense. Utah's defense is really good. This could be a 13-10 game, potentially, because Utah's got a really good D, and their front seven could cause some real problems for BYU and make Jake Retzloff a one-dimensional quarterback in offense if they shut down BYU's run game. If LJ Martin has success like he has shown in the past 2 games, BYU's going to be fine, and I think that they got to establish him early. They've had the tendency in road games this year. SMU, UCF, opening drive against UCF, the first 3 plays, handoff to LJ Martin, and one of them I believe was a 3rd and 2, and you had to go pick it up. That would be huge. I think to open the game, get LJ going, and set that tone that this run game is going to be something that Utah has to account for, because I've seen many BYU teams go into Salt Lake and just not have much success on the ground. And there were years too, what was it, 2018, where BYU goes in as a heavy underdog. Utah already clinched the Pac-12 South Division title, and Matt Hadley got a few yards, and we kind of acted like that was something so spectacular. But in the grand scheme of it, you looked at the final box score and you go, that wasn't many yards. It's tough to run on Utah. They've always been good defensively, and still, even during this 4-game losing streak, it's not like they're giving up 30, 40 points a game. It's just their offense can't score 20 points. And if you can get to 24 points, I feel pretty good that you're going to win this ball game. But if you get into 13-10, and there's been some matchups over the years where it's 17-16, something low, if you're in that world, Utah's got a shot. But if you get up to that 24-30 mark where BYU has consistently operated in this season as a 30-point plus team this year, BYU will win big. But if they leave it to be in the teens, then that gives me a little bit of pause where maybe I could feel a little bit more concerned.
Counterpoint to that would be, I thought UCF, what was that, man? Gosh, it's already been over a week since that game in Orlando. But UCF's defensive line is good. There's a lot of athleticism and talent on that defensive line. BYU kind of broke through in that game with LJ. You referenced a couple of those opening drive carries from LJ. I thought that was encouraging, that this offensive line, that they've had guys in and out with injury, right? Connor Pay, doubtful for this week. I don't think BYU expects him to play. But Bruce Mitchell and this offensive line that has been anchored on the outside by Braden Keim and Caleb Etienne, the run game has improved every single week. So I think that was an encouraging sign that they were able to run on a UCF defense that is, there's some talent there. So, but to your point, Utah's defense, 15th in the country, they're really stout. I do wonder a little bit, though, Mitch, if those numbers are deceptive, because they put out some really good defensive performances against teams earlier in the year that didn't know what they were. Like, I think Baylor would destroy Utah today. That Utah defense made Baylor look like they couldn't move the football for a single first down. That Baylor team is way different. They'd have a lot more success against Utah's defense today. So it's going to be fascinating to see. But that number to me is just a hair deceptive, 15th in total defense.
I don't think that necessarily, because TCU only scored 7 or scored 13 on them. And TCU scored 34 this past weekend. It's pretty much the same personnel. Utah's a good defense, and BYU has got to be ready for Utah playing at their best defensively. And Kalani even noted that this on Monday, that they've got to be ready, and they're familiar with these hostile environments. This was Kalani earlier today on that environment they're walking into in Salt Lake.
We've gone into hostile environments before, and this is going to be another one. So I think the guys are up for the challenge. They're excited for it. They should be. And it's a great opportunity for us to go play the game and just keep it that the game is the game.
Cougar Nation sponsored by Central Bank, voted best bank and mortgage in Utah Valley. Visit Central Bank online at cbutah.com. Taking our final time out, we'll get to more of your phone calls and texts. It's Cougar Nation. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you right here on KSL News Radio.